This is really weird. I've never done one of these before, and so I'm having a hard time uh, looking at myself, to be honest. I'm used to seeing somebody else on the other side. So to watch my own eyes move and my own mouth move, it looks weird. And I've always been self conscious of myself. So um, I hate to say the words be kind, but please. um, my name is Jessica. I've been on YouTube for forever. Um, I'm almost 40 now, so it's not like I'm some young kid. Um, I have 4 kids. I run a business. I have my 3 stepchildren. I have my dog. I have my 2 cats. Um, I live in Pennsylvania. I've never really left the town that I'm in, aside from a few side cities. Before, I was an adult, I did move a couple different cities. Um, I'm doing this today because I have been talking forever about wanting to write a book, write something, vlog, I don't know. But every time I start, I stop because I get really emotional and I get wrapped up in my own head. Or something happens and I get distracted. This feels like the only way I can do this efficiently. And um, I'm afraid to do it at the same time because I know I get emotional. And it almost seems overdramatic at times. I used to think that there was something actually wrong with me. For a long time, I would get really upset over certain sections of movies or a piece in a book. And I mean, you'd see people cry at the theater all the time or get emotional, but I mean, I needed to run out. And it was like, wow, why am I being so weird? Um, People must think I'm crazy or I'm looking for attention or something. And I really didn't want to do that, so I did everything in my power not to be visible. Um, because I didn't want to look like, oh, look at that girl, she's just crying because she just wants everybody to look at her. I don't want anybody to look at me. This makes me very uncomfortable. As I said, I'm almost 40, and this is the first time I've ever done this. Um, and I think the only reason I'm feeling this way right now and enough to talk is my children aren't here. I don't have them running around in my head right now. They're actually out with my grandma, my dad's side, going to one of their extracurriculars. Usually I take them, but she elected to take them to give me a moment. Um, what I've learned over the years, when I was younger, I used to have these issues where I almost couldn't breathe. It felt like something was sitting on my chest. I actually went to my doctor's once, and I felt really silly even saying anything about it because it's not like I was having it right that second. Um, so I had told him, there come these episodes where I don't feel the way I described it, and the way I feel about it was I couldn't inflate my lungs. Not that something was sitting on my chest, but I literally couldn't open my lungs up to take enough breath that it felt like something was wrong with my lungs. I never once thought about the whole crushing elephant on the chest thing, and so my doctor automatically thought, oh no, that's a heart attack symptom. And it's like, wow, I'm way too young to have a heart attack. What do you mean? And to my surprise, most doctors, would blow me off if I even mentioned the slightest things, as I'm sure a lot of people have experienced. This doctor wanted to do an EKG, an MRI, and an ultrasound of my heart. The best they found was there was a small murmur. So then when I got to see him, he said to me, you're having panic attacks. And it's like, nah. No, 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 no. Panic attacks are, in my mind at the time, you hear fireworks and you duck underneath the table thinking bombs are going off. I have not experienced anything to allow such things to happen to me. I'm not as bad as a lot of people. People have experienced much worse things than me. I should not be having a physical reaction. And so he told me I needed to go to therapy. This was shortly after my father had passed away. He passed away in 2013. I went, I follow recommendations. I do what the doctor says. I'm one of those people where I'm like, all right, let's give this a shot. I'm not going to argue about it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't know. So I go to a community counseling center, and I get a therapist through them. And I had already used one of the other therapists for one of my children. So, I was okay with going with this place, but still at the same time was kind of like, So when I got here, they got me this therapist. And, I would see her almost every week, just talking and talking and talking. And then we would go into past events. The problem with my past events were I didn't get a reaction I thought I was going to get. I tend to believe always that my issues are not as bad as other people's issues. I have always been one to think that I don't deserve any sympathy. I shouldn't ask for it. There are so many people that are so much worse than me. They need that sympathy. They need that empathy. I don't need that sympathy. I can get by. So I want to give to other people. I shouldn't get that. And apologies. I'm going to try really hard to keep my emotions in check during this. The reaction I got from these therapists, and this particular therapist, was almost shock. I wasn't really prepared for that. She kept asking me, how could you deal with that? And I was so surprised. I'm used to hearing people telling me what to do. It's not that bad. And instead, I got them being sad for me. And I didn't think I deserved that. So, after many months of sessions, she told me I don't have PTSD, I have C-PTSD, and I didn't understand the difference. Honestly, again, PTSD to me is going off the war and coming back and being scared of explosions, rape, a near-death experience. I don't have any of those. And it was once again one of those, I'm not as bad as other people. I can deal with this. So she explained to me complex post-traumatic stress. She says you don't have one event. You have many. Starting from around 6. And she wanted me to do EMDR therapy. And, first she told me to look it up. So I did. And it seems silly, actually, to me. Like, a light bouncing back and forth, or doing this a million times like you see on Law & Order SVU. That's not going to change my thinking. That's not going to do anything. This is going to be pointless. I want to get better. I don't want to feel like these super high emotions. I want to be able to keep myself under check. But this seems like my brain's not going to do it. I just didn't think it was possible. But again, I wanted to follow what is recommended. So I did it. I signed up. I had a therapist. Her name at the time was Melissa Nagy. She's a great therapist, by the way. Love her. Same with Stacey Durkin. Great therapist. Just absolutely awesome. Can't say good enough stuff. So Melissa and I would meet, and you know, at first, you know, we were going over more like what is the EMDR. You know, that there's 8 stages to it, and the first one is just kind of talking through what it is, you know, what bothers me, and you know, it was again like one of those, I hate saying the word modest because I don't feel like those things level up to other things. But we talked mainly about certain situations where, you know, I get emotional. What conversations do I have with other people about my past where I get emotional? And the one that I remember most was when I was 6. And this is the one we worked on as my core one. And honestly, that turned out to be the one I needed to work on. I thought I would be working on the one where my father passed away, because that was recent, and I was still upset. He OD'd. It was not, you know, some expected heart attack or anything. He was there, and then he was gone. And the way it happened, and who was around, and the way I was treated, or my family was treated, because suddenly your dad's a drug addict. Oh, he must be garbage. It was aggravating. So, once we got into different things, the one I focused on was when I was 6. And it was an interaction between my parents, which is why I wanted to start this video. I primarily started this video and wanting to do this video not only just to, you know, not just to go, hey, look at me, look at all this crap I went through. I don't want that. Nobody should give me sympathy. My primary goal is to feel like, you know, not for myself, but for others to know they're not alone. You know, that it's okay to feel like this. I'm constantly telling other people this. I feel like I'm almost their therapist at this point, and I shouldn't be. I mean, they should feel like they're accepted and that this is okay, you know, because I didn't think it was okay. I just thought something was wrong with me up here. Why don't I get my shit together, you know? And, you know, why do I constantly need to leave the room, you know, when I see certain events or hear certain things, even silly things. I think one of my primary, and I hate to use the word trigger, please, I hate trigger. It feels like a very overused word. It really does. Everybody always says, oh, I'm triggered. Oh, I'm triggered. You're not triggered. Shut up. Sorry, not sorry. I love y'all. Sometimes you're just mad. And that's okay. You don't have to have a label on it to feel like somebody's got to pay attention, which is the point I'm trying to do today or in the future or any other videos that I make. The point is you should feel heard no matter what you say. It shouldn't rise to the ability of rape to be heard. And you shouldn't feel like you shouldn't talk. Because when you don't talk, that's when you feel alone. Because nobody else is talking. They're feeling like they're insignificant, or, you know, their trauma isn't as bad as anybody else's trauma. And the truth of the matter is, your trauma, no matter how minor it is still worth talking about, is still worth getting I'm sorry you went through that. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves I've been getting lately, because now that I've had exponential amount of crap happen to me, is the constant, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you go on. When you say something like that, I don't think, you know, anybody does it intentionally to hurt anybody. But when you say it, think about it. What are you saying? You're telling, you feel like you're giving them praise for making it through. But what you're really doing in that sentence is saying as if they had a choice in the matter. And that's, you know, the only response I can give to that one is always, You're acting like I had a choice. I didn't have a choice. There was no choice. It was do or die. I mean, I have to be point blank about it. It was you just do, because there is no choice. You're stuck with what's happening. There is no, oh, you're doing a good job dealing with your trauma. No, that's not, no. That's not the right response. The right response is, I'm sorry. Literally. It sounds redundant. It sounds overused. The same wording you use when someone loses somebody is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. Most people don't know this, but the grieving process actually applies to almost everything. If you think about it, if you have a major change in your life, a baby is born, you get that postpartum depression, it's the grieving process. You are grieving the life that you once had and no longer have. You are grieving that change. The grieving process is processing major change. That's what it is. You do it every time. A car accident, somebody passes away, of course, that one's the big one. Or, somebody becomes incarcerated, or your children move out. It could be something so simple. But you are grieving change because that is no longer your norm anymore. Your norm has changed. And your brain needs to process that change. And in that process, you go through the grieving cycle. Maybe not as extreme for some things, but it's still the same thing. It's still going, if I hadn't gotten into that car accident, I'd still have my vehicle. I wouldn't be having these troubles with my finances, my getting to my job. Now I had to go get a ride. Now I'm stuck figuring out the renters. The insurance is driving me nuts. You didn't have to do all that yesterday, but today you do. And therefore, your norm has changed. And you're going to be upset. Your anxiety is going to spike. It is normal. It is okay. And the proper response to any of those things is, I'm sorry you're going through that. What can I do to help you? That's it. Don't tell them what to do. Don't judge them for being in that position. And especially, do not say, I don't know how you do it. Please do not say that one. Say, I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do? How can I help you through it? That's it. That's all anybody wants to hear. It's very simple. And I know a lot of people overthink it. They think, oh, I shouldn't offer my help. They don't want my help. They want me to fix something that I can't fix. No, they don't want you to fix it. They don't want you to fix it. That's judgment. When you want them to, when you think you're going to fix it for them, you are judging them. You are telling them what to do. They do not want to hear that. That is the absolute worst thing they want to hear. They want to hear you acknowledge their pain. That is it. They need acknowledgement. That is the biggest thing of all. They just want to know that they're heard. To be honest, that's all I ever wanted. This is the greatness of EMDR. I am still in pain, but I'm able to not freak out and turn off the camera and say, oh, I can't do this right now. I am able to sniff it up, take my deep breaths, think for a minute, and continue. I will never get over my pain. Nobody ever gets over their pain. Everybody always talks about the back then. Everybody does it. It's okay. It's okay. Your pain is your pain. You deserve to be heard. All the above. I know I sound probably like an idiot to some people. Probably like, these people need to get over it. If that is how you're thinking, you've never been through it. Okay? Or you just don't want to acknowledge your own pain. You're not ready. That's okay too. A lot of people don't want to face their pains because it hurts too much. That's okay. I would never want anybody to be pushed into somewhere where they're uncomfortable. And I'm not going to tell you to go out and get a therapist. I'm not going to tell you to go out and go and do EMDR. I'm only going to share with you what I have experienced and what I've been through, and I'm going to keep saying to everybody else on the planet, you are wanted, and your pain is your pain, and you deserve acknowledgement for it. Always. Always. You always deserve to have someone tell you, it's okay. It'll be all right. We're here for you. We're sorry. Always we're sorry. I once had a therapist tell me, sorry is overused. What he meant by that is where we, the people that are in pain, are using sorry. We're the ones using sorry because we're apologizing for our own emotions. We're saying we're sorry that we're having these emotions. And honestly, it's drilled into my head. If I seem to be off track, I do it too. I always say, I'm sorry. I don't really mean it. I'm trying to almost say, excuse me. It comes out as I'm sorry, but it is, please excuse me, I'm having an emotional time right now. And I don't mean to make you feel bad, because some people say, don't cry, you're making me feel bad. I don't want to make you feel bad. I 100% don't want to make you feel bad. In the almost 40 years of my life, I was born on the other side of the country. I was not born here in Pennsylvania, although my family is from here. My father went to college on the West Coast. So I was born in Washington. And I stayed there a couple of years. I did not know until much later in life that my parents didn't get along. I kind of figured it out when I was 6, starting with my problems. And after learning about, domestic violence and things like that, through all these therapies, I have learned to manage to keep mostly, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some magical guru. I'm not. A therapist have shared with me things that normally therapists wouldn't. I've been told that I'm very easy to talk to. They share with me all kinds of things they wouldn't even tell their own children. One person once told me that they were a victim of sexual assault when they were younger. And the person who's telling me this is like, she told me she's never told anybody. Not even her own kids. Not her husband. She just felt like, and she would cry. And I felt so bad. But I felt honored that she was able to share that with me, that I must be that, like, non-aggressive, that they can do that. I find I end up with a lot of information. I've talked to a probation officer over the phone only one time, and he's sharing with me his whole life, telling me about, having actually, safety concerns. His wife, who's really great at shooting, and how he's, sometimes gotten a weapon here or there and stored it where he shouldn't. It was like, I don't even know you. And you're sharing all this with me. I must be that trustworthy. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you his name. But he seemed like a great guy. I've had other therapists share with me their personal issues. I know one therapist who struggled with her childhood with her mother. And I know another one where his ex-wife had committed suicide. I'm glad that they're able to share with me, because I want to share with them. And if we can be this open with each other, that's how real change happens, is when you let it go. But you have to trust them. And the only way you're going to get anybody to win your trust, to let them talk to you, is if you tell them from the beginning, again, I'm sorry, you're acknowledged, you're worth it, etc., etc., etc. Not, can't believe you made it through this, why can't you get over it? Hasn't it been long enough? No. No. Don't say that. Please don't say that. Imagine having that said to you. Oh. I mean, if you can't think about, saying it to somebody else, and I'm not scolding y'all, some of you just don't know, which is why I'm saying it. Sometimes people just don't know what to say. And so when people do say that to me, it's not like I yell at them and go, don't say that to me. How dare you say that to me? I'm not going to do that. I'm thinking about, they don't know. They don't know. It's pretty simple. So I'm not going to scold them for not knowing what to say. It's pretty dark today. It's actually about to rain. Honestly, when I started this video to begin with, I honestly wasn't even sure if I was going to give my name, but I'm using a YouTube channel I've been on forever. So eventually people are going to figure it out anyway. I am, and I'm going to share this openly, I am nervous about talking about anything to do with my past. I feel like it paints a target on my back at times. I know I talk about it all the time with people I know. I talk about it all the time, sometimes with complete strangers, like that PO. I mean, I'm on and with him about how I hate child services. And not because of the conspiracy theory craps. It's not even that. I know a lot of people, and again, it's one of those, I'm trying to think how they're feeling. Not about what I'm feeling, how they're feeling. They are in a crisis. Sometimes they feel like they have no recourse. They don't know what to do. Their caseworker isn't helping them. So then they'll go looking online the same way people go looking for their diagnosis on WebMD. What do they come up with? They come up with cancer on WebMD. You know what they come up with online? Conspiracy theories. Oh, your child's being sold. They're not. They're not. I have know-how into a lot of things. And it's unfortunate because I wish I didn't. I was once trying to tell the Herald about it, and they told me, all you're doing is painting a target on your back. I mean, what else can they take from me at this point? All I'm doing is keeping it inside every night. I just sit here, wondering, watching other people go through it, and wondering, do they know they're not alone? Do they know what to do? Because I didn't. I had no idea. I think that hurts the most. I'll tell you what, one of the most triggering movies I have is called The Changeling with Angelina Jolie. That movie, I'm like falling apart because you see so much wrong. And you know it's wrong. And you keep seeing it happen and nobody's stopping it. And the only person that can stop it is yourself. That's what hurts. At the end of the day, that's what hurts. Is feeling so alone. So I wanted to do these to make sure people don't feel alone. To know, recourse. If they're in this situation. How to handle situations, the best ways to handle situations where they are at peace with themselves. They don't go back home and go, man, I should have done this, or maybe I shouldn't have yelled about that. And also just let you know that you're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to be upset. I mean, who's going to sit there and tell you not to be upset about something that happened to you? That's awful. You are absolutely 100% allowed to be upset. I take care of 7 children, 3 of which I did not birth, but I think of like my own. I love them dearly. And what happened to them breaks me into little pieces. Because I knew, and I kept trying to tell people, and nobody listened. And I think that's why the changeling really drives me nuts, because it's the same thing. You're trying to tell the truth, and nobody's listening to you. They even twist it. So, I am a half hour into making this big old video with probably God knows how much percentage I have left on my phone. Because when I started this, it had 35. It's probably low now. Whatever. So I will start with when I was little, I bounced city to city to city to city. We followed the jobs. And at the time, I didn't know, but we were following what we could. My parents lived in the car for a little bit, too. My dad was a gambler, an adrenaline junkie, did weed, didn't know any of that. Because when I started to know him as I got older, he didn't do any of those things in front of me. He was respectable. People loved him. He was a very classic domestic abuser. However, he wasn't the only one. My mom, love you mom, who is still here, didn't know how to manage her own emotions, and unfortunately would lash out. I'm the oldest. I have a little sister and 2 little brothers. I don't even talk to the youngest one anymore. My family's all ripped apart. Slowly started happening years ago. And now I'm the one they call. And my baby brother doesn't call me anymore. I'm scared for him. When I was 6, 7-ish, I lived in Lake Latonka. I went to Sandy Lake Schools, which is actually located on the outside of Stoneboro. Sorry. Sorry. See, I'm doing the sorry thing. It's just me saying, excuse me for a minute, while I get my shit back together. When I was, it was 1st grade. You know, at first when I was at Lake Latonka, I went to kindergarten twice. Most people didn't know that. I actually got picked on later in life saying, oh, you must be so dumb that you failed kindergarten. No. It was because my birthday is in August. And my parents didn't think, they didn't want me to be the youngest in class. So they waited and made me go kindergarten another year. So then I ended up being the oldest, which didn't work out so well because I'm also short. So, I was a senior and 18 already by the time I started my senior year, and nobody believed me. Fun times. But I went to Lake Latonka, and it's quiet. We walked to the beach over there. I mean, it is a very secluded town. My mom would walk us to the beach. Whenever they would patch the road, she had this thing where it was like, step on the tar, watch, your feet are going to sink in, and then, you step out, and your footprint would go back out. It was like, oh, that's so cool. It's like Play-Doh on the street. I had this friend, her name was Erin. She lived up the road, literally. Like where our house is tucked in this one road, we have one neighbor across the street, and Erin is up the road. And then across from her is another girlfriend of mine named Lauren, and then another Lauren. So I had 2 Laurens and an Erin, and they were my buddies. I liked Erin so much. I actually cut my hair like hers. Her hair was cut up here in a little bunt, and so I did the same thing. I wanted it same like hers because I thought she was so cool. I really admired kids back then. I stopped talking to a lot of people. I can't remember if it was kindergarten or 1st grade, but I felt like, I needed to help the teacher a lot. So, I tattled. Most kids tattle. I tattled a lot. That was bad. And one time a teacher came up to me and she made it known that she didn't want to hear it. And from then on, I shut my mouth. I literally remember that to the point where I didn't talk anymore. I didn't want to tell on anybody anymore because now I'm inconveniencing the teacher. And I don't want to inconvenience the teacher. I like the teacher. And so, one time I missed the bus. And my mom literally chased it. Literally. Had me in the car, chasing after the bus. Every time the bus stopped, it was, get out of the car, get out of the car, jump on the bus. And I wouldn't make it in time, and the bus would pull away, and I didn't know what to do. I'm 6 years old. I don't know what to do. How am I going to go on the bus? And then she'd get mad, and I'd jump back in the car, and she'd chase it to the next stop. Get on the bus, get on the bus, get out of the car. It's like, oh shit. And actually that particular day, I was supposed to be in a play, and they made me the letter U, had me have an umbrella. It was like an alphabet play. And I distinctly remember that because I felt so embarrassed. Like, oh man, please don't put me on the stupid stage. But back then things were kind of fun until one day, unfortunately. And if I had to guess, it would have been early spring. This is the EMDR one that I worked on. Okay, so just heads up. Okay. This is very vivid for me. I'm better with it now. So I'm unlikely to get emotional during it anymore. Thank God. But if I do a little bit, sorry. There I go again. Sorry. So we lived in this house. It's a beautiful house. It was like a half-story house. Not like I had the stairs back here, but like you had a porch that would go up like just a little bit, like above a crawl space, and then the back of the house would sink down in. So it was a room. So you had a stairway going up, and then right beside it a stairway going down. And they only went up about halfway. So you see my stairs here? So that they would only be about halfway. And so it was like a hop, skip, and a jump to get to the upper floor to the bottom floor. Really easy. And it was an open floor plan. So the kitchen and the living room, no wall. To backtrack a little bit. A few months prior to this event, and again, this is one of those things that just stuck with me. My mom had a birthday. My dad got her one of those giant cookie cakes. You know, it looks like a giant chocolate chip cookie, and it said "Happy Birthday, Cheryl." You know, she came in the house, and he's standing there with me, my sister, and my little brother, and you know, it's happy birthday. She runs over. She literally grabbed the cake and threw it. No explanation, like none. It just launched. And she started crying, and she ran out of the room. And I looked at my dad, and I said, "What's wrong with Mom?" And he said, "She doesn't like getting older." That literally stuck with me until almost when I was 30. I wouldn't acknowledge her birthday anymore. That's how fucked up things can do to kids. It's so little. I believed that. I believed she was very upset about her age. And she didn't, you know, and you grow up with that lingo. Don't ask a woman her age. Don't do that. It's rude. So I tiptoed around her birthday every fucking year. I did not want to say happy birthday. I did not want to acknowledge anything unless she did it first. If she did it, then it was okay. If not, forget it. And I did see a few birthdays where she still had the same reaction. I didn't know my father was having an affair. That's why she was upset. I didn't know that. And he's not going to tell me. I'm a little kid. But it would have been nice to know later on. Not continuously where she's having these episodes and he's using her birthday to try and make her feel better or try to excuse his behavior. Like, oh, now you have to pay attention to me because I'm celebrating your birthday. I'm doing something nice. And of course she's pissed off and she throws the fucking cake. She's not thinking about what it's doing to me or my sister or my brother. She's thinking about, I'm pissed off at you for fucking some other bitch. Sorry for swearing. But that's it. That's reality. But I believe that. And so, beginning of my bullshit. Shortly after that, I can't remember how, I ended up downstairs where I was in that kitchen where I could see into my living room. But I remember very specifically almost a tug of war shove, like both hands. She's yelling in his face. She's pushing him. She's pushing my dad. She's yelling at him. I can't even remember what she was yelling. I just remember the raised voices. That whole, oh shit, she's mad. I don't have to know what she's talking about. She's just mad. And then he's yelling back. And then he's almost trying not to lose it. She's provoking him. Because she's angry. She's not thinking. She's not thinking about us. She's not thinking about him. She's not thinking about anything except, you've upset me. You've hurt me. I'm going to take it out on you. And so in her emotional outburst, she's shoving my father. She's shoving him. Shove, 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 shove. Getting in his face. Do something. Do something. So he does. He shoves her. Of course he was going to. He should have walked away. Here is me picking apart that little fight that coulda, shoulda, woulda. That's not what happened. What happened was she shoved, he shoved back. And then we had these long windows, and I mean long. I mean, I got a bay window here. It was like that side of it, like that little thing right there on the side. A whole bunch of those. And the window was one of those ones where you rolled it at the bottom and the side would pop out a little bit. She ran over to that window and she screamed out the window towards the neighbor, who I didn't know was a cop. Didn't know that, but she was screaming for his attention to go, oh no, we're having a fight. My father, what he did was, while she's in this stance leaning towards this window, he grabbed her wrist, and actually, if I remember correctly, it was her left wrist, so this one. And he pulled it back real hard and then swung her to the side and wham! Hit the floor. Like literally a big whoosh on the ground. That was such a swift motion. Literally has her arm, wham! She hits the floor. Hard. And now she's not moving. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then I start to hear the whimpering. Now she's conscious, but something's hurting. I don't know what it is. My dad is full on panic at this point, like, oh shit, what'd I do? And she's crying. I actually came up to her, and this is where my EMDR actually gave me a little bit of an epiphany, where I was going, I want to help. I want to help her. She's in pain. And my therapist said to me, how are you going to help her? You're 6 years old. She was right. There's nothing I could do. That hurts. But it's true. There was nothing I could do. And I didn't cause it. But I felt responsible in some way. And what was worse came after. She had convinced my father that she was going to lie. Say she fell. Classic. I fell down the stairs. Bullshit. So he calls the ambulance. I don't remember how we got to the hospital, but I remember getting to the hospital. And then my uncle was there, my dad and mom was there, and my mom's parents were there. And I'm 6. And so slowly, my mom is in the back. She finds out she's also pregnant now with my little brother. My father's being questioned. He's saying she fell down the stairs. And I start being questioned. I'm 6. And I believe the whole, I won't tell anybody. Can you tell me what happened? So I'm going, well, Daddy got mad. And he grabbed her arm. And he swung her into the ground. And she was crying. And I don't know why she's crying. I don't know that her elbow popped out. And it was completely dislocated. But that's what happened. And then I get passed down to the next grandparent uncle. Hey, can you tell me what happened? I won't tell anybody. Well, Daddy did this. That was the last time I was in Lake Latonka. I didn't go home. I didn't go back to that school. I lost everything. I blamed myself because I told the truth. I didn't know that my mom had actually told the cops too. For a long time I thought it was me. Because my father went to jail. We had to move. Instead of going home, I went to Aware. I distinctively remember just wanting to go home. I wanted my dad. I wanted my friends. And my whole world was gone. Not to mention, Aware wasn't exactly where you think you're safe. It was scary as shit. When we got there, there was this one woman. She had a neck brace on. Never forget that. Big old thing right here. Whole way around. Now the woman, she's got marks all over her. I mean, that place was filled. Lots of kids, too. Kids were mean. They actually had the game Perfection. And they didn't even have all the pieces. So, pretty much everything's donated. So, I'm going to play with what I have, but I'm not allowed to leave. I'm not allowed to go to school anymore. I am stuck in this house with all these people. I actually ran and hid because one time, these kids were picking on me about my hair. You look like a boy. I only had one ear pierced because I was afraid to have the other one done, so I'd scream and cry, like, don't pierce my other ear. And for the record, I did ask for them to be pierced in the first place. I just wasn't expecting it. So when they pierced the first ear, because they did it one at a time, which was probably pretty shitty, after the first one, it was, oh, hell no, don't touch my other side. No. But then I got called boy. I have short hair. I have one ear pierced. I'm a boy. Now I'm not feeling very pretty anymore. Everybody tells me, oh, you're so beautiful. You can tell me that all day long. You're just saying that. Because these people, I don't know them. And they're telling me straight to my face, I'm not. And I believed it. So I'm going to stop there. And I'll pick this up later because I believe my kids are home and they don't need to see me like this right now. I thank you all for your time. I hope this helps somebody. That's the whole purpose of me even doing this. This is not for me. This is for somebody else to feel they're heard and loved. And know that there are other people out there and that it's okay to be upset. It's okay. You are acknowledged. My therapist says it to me all the time. You are acknowledged. You are acknowledged. You are acknowledged. She knows that it helps. I don't ask for it. Sometimes it feels almost like I feel like I should tell her no, don't say that. But it is what I need to hear. Because I don't feel acknowledged. Alright, I'm gonna hop off here and clean myself up before they start coming in here and asking why you crying. Because they always want to protect me. Alright, thank you all.